Hi everyone, Alex here. Here to talk about one of my special categories for 2019. Y'all probably know that I spend way too much time playing Rock Band, specifically the current version of Rock Band 4. They are still putting out DLC for that video game on a weekly basis, flying in the face of all reason and God. And I download a lot of that downloadable content, like constantly. If you are thinking of getting into that game in 2019, first of all, why? And you don't know where to go as far as like the giant song library and things that might have come out this year, I thought this would be a good opportunity to talk about some of my favorite things that I played this year in that video game, What is the Rock Band? Now, granted, this will be coming from the perspective very specifically of a drummer, so keep that in mind. But with that said, let's talk about the top songs in Rock Band for 2019. Alice Cooper, Feed My Frankenstein. Feed My Frankenstein marks the third song from the Wayne's World soundtrack to make its way into the game, and as a big fan of both Wayne's World and its official soundtrack, this is a very good thing. This game has a particularly enjoyable bouncy rhythm to it, and it's always fun to partake of Alice at his most spirit Halloween. Hopefully the full soundtrack will eventually make its way into the game, but until then, we can just pray and hope and wish for Tia Carrere's cover of Ballroom Blitz to make it in. The Bouncing Souls, Gasoline. 2019 was a year in which the Rock Band Network dominated the weekly DLC pipeline. While much of that consisted of the same 3 or 4 circa 2009 metalcore bands over and over again, a few other gems from the network library also made their way in, including this entirely enjoyable Bouncing Souls track. It's not their most famous song or anything, but the Souls are always reliably good, and this year marked the band's 30-year anniversary. What better way to celebrate than by giving them $2, roughly 30% of which they will actually see. Slipknot, Unsainted. Slipknot is still out here doing the Slipknot thing, and doing it pretty well. The song is angry, it's heavy, it's fast, and pretty much all the ways you would expect Slipknot to be. But I'm mostly including it here because I was this years old when I learned that the band's current drummer is Jay Weinberg, as in the son of Bruce Springsteen drummer and former Conan O'Brien band leader Max Weinberg. Jay's been in the band for a minute, but it wasn't until this year that I saw the photo of him as a kid wearing a Slipknot mask meeting the band backstage and learned that he had been the one to ultimately replace Joey Jordison. I love that shit. SleaterKinney, Jumpers and Entertain. SleaterKinney is back in 2019 with a new album, and it's not actually that good. But these songs, originally released for Rock Band Network, are not from that new album and are quite good. Maybe it's cheating to include 2 songs as one entry here, but I don't know that I have a real favorite between one or the other. They're both very fun to play, so why not play both? Los Lobos, La Bamba. La Bamba is one of those songs that is so ubiquitous that it almost feels like you were born knowing the lyrics. Like there's a DNA strand somewhere in every human that flares up every time that opening verse kicks in and you just instinctually start singing along. I say this to illustrate that there is no version of the world where I ever need to go out of my way to listen to a song like La Bamba again. But as an inclusion in a music game, it's perfect. It's exactly the kind of familiar yet fun song to jam along to that I really, really wish Harmonix licensed more of these days. Babymetal Starlight. Starlight is one of those songs that, rhythmically speaking, is incredibly annoying to learn and incredibly fun to play after you finish learning it. Few songs told my right leg to fuck off harder than this one did, and by the time I'd finally figured out the bass drum pattern, I screamed a celebratory fuck off right back at it. Even if you don't play drums, this one is a delight across the board. And finally, there's more Babymetal to play that isn't Gimme Chocolate. Nothing against Gimme Chocolate, a fine song. It was just the only one to play for probably too long. Lil Nas X, Old Town Road. All right, here's the thing. I don't actually like Old Town Road that much, or really at all. But I like what it represents. Specifically, in an era where the modern rock genre is mostly rotting in a dumpster and nobody at Harmonix seems overly hot to delve too deep into the more interesting corners of independent rock and metal, I like the idea of tossing more music from non-rock genres into the mix. Hip-hop in particular is a genre rife with interesting beats, the kind of stuff that really only makes sense when programmed via a drum machine versus played, but makes for tricky, enjoyable gameplay applied in this format. Why not include more songs along these lines, I say? Branch out, try some wild shit. Between the Buried and Me, Obfuscation, Prog, in all its forms, is a genre I enjoy watching people perform way more than I enjoy just sitting down and listening to it. Even the best prog still feels to me like listening to people do really intricate math for like 9 minutes at a time. And I fucking hate math. But in a video game where you're sort of performing that intricate math, it works. It's an ideal genre for a game where the most hardcore players just want to show off playing the craziest shit music can come up with. Between the Buried and Me in particular is kind of the ideal band for this. Their brand of prog metal is entirely listenable on its own, and the songs always translate to ludicrous charts in the context of the game. Obfuscation is basically 9 minutes of highly enjoyable rhythm game math. If you like that brand of math, this is one you absolutely will dig. Slayer, Angel of Death. Slayer's Angel of Death is Slayer's Angel of Death. Is there more I need to say beyond that? No, of course not. You want to play Slayer's Angel of Death. You might think you don't, but you're incorrect. Stop being incorrect and play Slayer's Angel of Death. Sunny Day Real Estate, 7. Sunny Day Real Estate's Diary album was one of my gateways into various musical interests I still hold today. It was a formative record for me, and 7 in particular is a song I spent years practicing on drums at home trying to perfect. Having it in the game is a genuine delight for me, and it's one of a handful of songs I would instantly recommend to any would-be video game drummer looking for an interesting challenge. It's got a fast, driving core rhythm, it's full of tricky snare rolls and fills that still occasionally manage to trip me up. It's one of the best pieces of DLC anywhere in the series. Now go ahead and relicense In Circles and Song About an Angel, please. So those are the Rock Band 4 hits of 2019. You should spend some money, play these songs, play them in your video game. I think they're great. I love music. Here's to more good music in 2020.